So, welcome to episode 5 of this restoration project. In this episode, we'll try and get the head done, relap the valves, change valve stem seals, get the head back on and the cams back in, and try and get this motor spinning over and see how it goes. So now that we have all the replacement valves, the replacement exhaust valves here, and I've given the head a bit of a clean up with some sandblasting. It's time to try lapping some of these valves and see how we go. So I'm going to start with this first exhaust valve in number 4. Got my new valve grinding compound and my new lapping tool. So let's try this first one and see what the surface looks like after that. So after a few more tries with some different valve grinding compound and a bit more elbow grease, doesn't look too bad. You can see the line around there, which and also the line around the valve seal itself. So I guess proof will come out when we do some testing with maybe some acetone or something in there once both valves are in, and see if we've still got any leaks. So I'm in the process of changing or at least taking off the old valve stem seals, but because they're down in this recess there, unlike most car heads, getting down there and getting them out, I tried pliers, sort of managed to twist them, but so the process I've come up with is heating them up with a little gas torch, and then scrounged through my boxes and things and found these brackets and just bent the ends over and filed them to get in there and hook underneath and just wiggle them backwards and forwards until they come off. So that process seems to be working okay. So I've now successfully lapped all the valves, I think. We'll do some testing later on once the valve springs, etc. are all on, just to see how they're sealing, but I think they're all okay. Now I'll pull the valves out, give the head a good wash down, then start reassembling. So head's been cleaned now, given a good wash out with petrol. I've replaced the spring bases and then put in new valve stem seals on all of the valves. And I'm just starting to replace the valves now. So I've done inlet valve for number 1, just on exhaust valve for number 2. You can see I had to make a modification to this valve spring compressor. This is basically designed for a car head, not really these recessed springs like a motorcycle head, but seems to work okay. Gives me access in there to get in the little collets, etc. So all going well so far. Right, all of the valves are back in with valve springs. So I saw a method of checking the valves on the internet, on YouTube, so I've done 1, 2 and 4, just doing this last one. So I've got a spark plug in there to seal up the combustion chamber, and then I'm going to fill it full of petrol. And then use the compressed air in both of the ports, not directly, but see there's no bubbles coming up through there. And no bubbles coming up through there. So looks like all the valves are pretty well sealed. That's good. So the head's back on. So I'm just doing the final torquing down to 29 foot-pounds. Obviously a particular sequence you do this in, starting from the middle and working your way out. Going to go and check the torque specs on these little 6mm bolts at the end, but that's basically the head on. So I made some progress today. Put the cams back in, aligned them all correctly. Cam idler pulley, the cam chain tensioner back in. A bit of a mishap with one of the cam caps when I was doing up the bolts with virtually no pressure at all. One of the bolts just snapped. In fact, it was in this hole here. I don't know, it must have been cracked before because there was no pressure on it. It just snapped. Managed to get the old bit out using a drill and an easy out. So then I've just got to order some new screws. I thought I'd order a few just in case. And then I've calculated all of the shim values that should be and put them all in order with Partzilla as well. Did a compression test and all 4 cylinders are well over 100 pounds, which is the minimum. Things are probably still a little bit dry in there, so I'm not too concerned about that. So yeah, just wait for the shims to turn up and that bolt, and then yeah, then we can put things back together and see if this starts. So here is that screw holding the cam cap on that snapped. Very strange. There's virtually no pressure at all, and you know, even these things only get tightened up to about 6 foot-pounds, something like that. So luckily I was able to drill this out and get an easy out in there to get it out. And obviously the other thing I've done is fill the engine up with oil. A bit of sign of life, we can see that I do have oil pressure, so that's good. So once these parts arrive, we can move on. So that's the end of part 5 of this restoration. As you can see, I've just placed the the rocker cover back on there just to keep the dust out while we wait for the shims and that screw. I'll probably put the old exhaust system back on just to start the engine. I think I'll plan on trying to get a 402 as much like original later on. But we'll put the carbies on, put the old exhaust system on and the tank, and see if it turns over. So see you in episode 6.